Hello everyone, I'm Is. Today I'm continuing my story of joining the army. Last time I talked about a group of people coming back from our squadron to aid Xinjiang. Among them, there was a person whom I will probably remember and that was squad leader Kai. I want to elaborate here. The reason I can't forget him is not because I still have feelings for him, but if you have truly loved or hated someone, it will be difficult to remove him from your mind. I guess true love and hate will be integrated into the flesh and blood, and become part of our self-narrative. How should I put it? Time will not erase a person's past, but time will give each of us the opportunity to grow. The reason I mentioned him at the beginning this time is because not long ago, really not long ago, he posted a status on Shuidaku. And the person who asked for help happened to be familiar to me, so I sent him a message. In the end, we only exchanged 5 sentences in total, and he didn't reply to one of the sentences until a whole day later. But this small interaction is enough to bring back a lot of memories for me, even though we hadn't been in touch for 9 years before that. For me, being in the army was indeed a bit hard and tiring. Those 2 years were mostly dark days for me, of course, interspersed with these shining little days. But during the time when I liked squad leader Kai, I really colored every day myself. Even though it was hard and tiring, I was still looking forward to tomorrow. The wonder of love lies here. Unfortunately, when I confirmed my feelings, when I confirmed that I liked him, I was about to be discharged from the army. It was different from falling in love at first sight. The process of liking him was more tortuous. As I said before, I still disliked him a little when I first saw him, but fortunately, after I confirmed my feelings, this time I chose to be nice to him without any concealment. After all, I could be nice to him openly under the identity of a comrade in arms. It's very magical. When you like someone sincerely, when you like him, even if you just release your love, you will get great satisfaction. I won't say more here. I can't stop talking about it. This sinful man is the protagonist of the second half of my military career. I say so much here just because of those 3 words he said when we were chatting before. Pretty good. Just these 3 words. Really think about it, 9 years are enough for a lot of memories to settle to the point where they can no longer be dug out. I can't remember his hobbies or his birthday at all, but I only remember the feeling when I liked him at that time. It is often only one's own feelings that will be engraved for a long time. So now I am also, since I can't judge whether a person will leave, I will always be true to myself. But now it is really hard to have that kind of feeling of being in love to death. What I want to talk about today are some bright spots in my dark days. Of course, it is the only time in my life that I see so many handsome guys walking past me. This day is very precious. It was the first time I went out on a mission since I joined the army for a year. 2015 was a special year. It was the 70th anniversary of the victory of the War of Resistance against Japan. It was exactly 10 years ago. Then in June of 2015, it was announced that a military parade would be held. It seems that it was also announced in June this year. But I was very surprised at the time because I had the impression that military parades were only held on our national day. But besides being surprised, I was more delusional about whether I would have the opportunity to participate in it. After all, it was in Beijing, so close to me. But I soon stopped thinking about it because I felt that this kind of thing would definitely not be my turn. After all, I was just a young conscript who had been in the army for less than a year. But afterwards I was really in the square formation. I saw the ranks of conscripts, so I felt both disappointed and envious. There are differences between people on any platform. But how can I say it? It was God's blessing that allowed me to participate in this grand event in another way and form. Let me tell you what happened first. It was a Friday night in early August. Usually, we would watch a movie on Friday night, but I was called to the team headquarters on a business trip. Kai was with me. I was very disappointed because the Army's weekly movie was one of my biggest hopes at the time. You can say it's good or bad when you serve in the Army in Beijing. If you say it's good, it's because you will broaden your horizons. If you say it's bad, they will really pick out some bad things. That's annoying. There are always leaders coming to inspect. When the leaders come, they will look at you in various ways. Cleaning is the second most important thing. Paying attention to every visible detail is the most important thing. Everyone's daily life details should be paid attention to ensure. I was caught many times for hiding books. Because our weekend entertainment activities at that time were not allowed to use mobile phones. Our weekend entertainment activities were either playing ball or playing poker, but I didn't like these 2 things, so I could only read books. The Library was not open, and the warehouse was not open on weekends. So I could only hide books. How should I put it? I hid them in my own belongings box and my own bedside table. Usually there was nothing to do. Squad leader Janwei would turn a blind eye, but it was different when the leader came. The leader came and demanded strict consistency. Because every time there was a hygiene inspection, my books had to be put into the warehouse, so the squad leader would go to the instructor to get the warehouse key. Then he would scold me every time he caused trouble. But even if he scolded me, I still had to hide books because of your own life. The more monotonous life is, the more I crave to take in some words and movie images. I didn't read as many extracurricular books in 4 years of college as I did in 2 years in the army. This is outrageous. Even now, I still go to the movies every week, all thanks to the army. So depriving me of the right to watch movies in this kind of life is even more uncomfortable than asking me to run a 5-kilometer. Akai was also complaining about why he couldn't wait until after the movie, and then whispered that he hoped the movie would be a bad one. He was the kind of person who would really say what he thought, but no one really wanted to be called on to go on a business trip during their rest and entertainment time. Then we got to the end, and the instructor looked at us with a smile and said to finish all the forms on the table and finish them tonight. Then I saw that the clerk and the communicator were already writing furiously over there, and then I came to the table and saw that they were the political review forms for our squadron members. When I took a closer look, I found that it was the political review for the security mission. I really shouted, "Oh my God," in my heart. And then I was also surprised to be called on a business trip. The annoyance I had felt was completely gone. Akai asked the instructor directly what mission we were going to do. The instructor said he would not tell me and then said, "Wait and see, then you will start bragging like others." Thank you. The instructor, he has really started bragging, hahaha. Then the instructor continued to say that we will return to the city in 2 days to... I was really happy to hear that we could return to Beijing, because we had been in the mountains for almost half a year. It was really hard and tiring in the mountains, and it was almost killing me. I thought it would be easier if we returned to the city. And I saw that the instructor was actually quite happy. This mission was indeed extraordinary. I didn't expect that even the officers and soldiers would need another political review. And this was the first mission in my life. I was writing the formal form until the early morning, but because of the excitement and high emotions, I didn't feel sleepy at all. Then I returned to the class and all my classmates were asleep. If I really wanted to wake them all up and tell them the good news, it would be really exaggerated. Only squad leader Janwei woke up after hearing the noise of me returning to the class, and then hurriedly urged me to wash up and go to bed. Then I quietly told squad leader Janwei that we were going to participate in the military parade security mission and so on. Then squad leader Janwei said that he probably guessed it, but he didn't expect it to come true. Then he asked me to get up the next morning and tell my classmates the good news, and then he continued to urge me to wash up and go to bed. After I finished washing up, I lay in bed and couldn't fall asleep for a long time. I didn't know how I fell asleep. Then the next morning, he woke me up again even though I was very sleepy, but I still got up and talked to the guy next to me. My comrades said that we were going to participate in the parade. I finished filling out all your political review forms last night. And they were very happy when I finished speaking. Then the whole class was filled with an excited atmosphere. What was even more exciting was that our training that morning was canceled and changed to cleaning. I slept all morning. Usually, every Saturday morning is the most tiring time of the week for us. The first thing is the physical fitness test. The armed 5-kilometer test is to exhaust our physical strength, such as the 800-meter frog jump. Now, when I think about that subject, my legs still tremble because when I was halfway through the jump, I felt like I was going to jump into the Sanzu River. At that time, the captain told us that exhausting our physical strength was to allow us to rest better and make the rest more enjoyable. Well, let him say whatever he said. Anyway, we didn't have any choice. The result was such a suddenly relaxing Saturday. We all felt as if we had received a huge blessing. Maybe this is what's called Stockholm Syndrome. Then we learned that almost our entire detachment had to participate in this security mission. On the contrary, the 6th Squadron, where I used to be, couldn't participate in this mission because it had to be on duty in the military district compound. I really have to thank every decision I made. The other squadrons would be assigned to various areas of Beijing to stand guard and provide support. In the end, only our Special Service Squadron was assigned to the core area. I thought the core area was the area around Chang'an Avenue. I really didn't expect that our mission area would be on the viewing platform directly opposite Tiananmen Square. This means that we will have a first-hand perspective of this military parade. As a staunch materialist, I almost thanked God because I really feel extremely lucky. I joined the army because I like someone which changed the trajectory of my life, and I can see rare scenery on this trajectory. So everything is really the best arrangement. Really, I watch the military parade, my whole body goes numb when I watch the video. I can't imagine how shocking it would be to watch it live. In fact, this time really gave me an unprecedented life experience. I wrote 15 pages in my diary to record the grand occasion at that time. I was really excited. In the next 2 weeks, our training volume was reduced a lot because we had to avoid casualties due to injuries. Because we have injuries every month during training, the captain also hopes that as many of us as possible will participate in this mission. But I am not so lucky. The easier it is for others, it is that squad leader Janway assigned me many subjects that will not cause injuries but are very deadly. You can take a look at my diary on August 14th. I really have a hard life. I said that squad leader Janway gave me this kind of special treatment not once or twice, but every time it was the kind of, how to say it, not even a drop is left, it felt like I couldn't even hold the chopsticks. Sometimes I was even so tired that my immune system went on strike, and then I got a viral infection to the point of being hospitalized. And then that life after I was hospitalized for the illness, my squad leader changed from Janway to Kai. Of course, this was not Janway's fault. It was because he had to take a vacation and then prepare for the promotion exam after the vacation, so he would not be the squad leader. We'll talk about this later. Anyway, I got through the last few days in the mountains without any danger. We returned to the barracks in Hadian District on August 19th. The last time I saw the barracks in Hadian District was half a year ago. Then we had to move from a 20-person room in the mountains to an 8-person room, so the classes were redivided, but the personnel almost did not change. My squad leader is still Janway, and Dahe Lu Wei lives next to me. As I said before, he is the deputy. Janway often lets Dahe manage the class and he goes to slack off. I am very happy because Dahe is very nice to me. But Xiaoyu, who gave me a birthday card at that time, was a little disappointed because he was in Wuyong's class and lived in the same room with us. But now Wuyong's class is a little far away from us because Xiaoyu likes to listen to me telling him about anime. And he also likes to tell me stories or complain to me. He treats me like a brother. How should I put it? I am indeed a few years old. Mainly, he is the type of person who doesn't fight or compete, and is very well behaved. I can't bear to see such a kid get wronged, so I always want to protect him. Just like squad leader Dahe likes to take care of me. Well, how should I put it? It's like a love triangle. In fact, Xiaoyu's existence is one of the reasons why I decided to stay in the special service, because I really needed someone to help me at that time. How should I put it? Haha, it's probably this feeling. The class division made him a little unhappy, so I comforted him and said that it was the same no matter where we were. Anyway, we didn't spend much time in the city. Because we really spent the new year in the city, we went back to the mountains and lived in the same house again, haha, so there was almost no impact. I think this kind of relationship between people is quite interesting. Then we started to prepare for the mission and prepare the costumes, but the main emphasis was on discipline, because in August there was a rehearsal on the 23rd. We had to be present at the rehearsal and familiarize ourselves with the mission. The rehearsal was scheduled for the early morning. We set off for Tiananmen Square on the evening of the 22nd. Before departure, we were issued some dry food and water. We brought raincoats and stools. We took a bus from the detachment to Tiananmen Square. Beijing was very congested at night. The journey of more than 10 kilometers was more than an hour. I remember that the ride took more than an hour, but I was not annoyed at all, because I wanted to see more of the streets of Beijing. After arriving at Chang'an Avenue, I saw Tiananmen Square and the Great Hall of the People for the first time. The most miserable thing was that I was on night watch on the 20th and 21st. I didn't get a good rest for 2 days in a row, but I still couldn't get sleepy. After arriving at the mission area, we started patrolling. We patrolled almost every corner around the viewing platform, but I think it was still not as efficient as the military dog patrol. However, the military dog at that time was not our dog and the man was not our man. It seemed that it was from another unit's patrol. It was really a pity that our Lit couldn't come to participate in this mission. Lit was squad leader Kai's dog and followed squad leader Kai. But even if I didn't follow squad leader Kai, Lit would still be my favorite dog. He was very handsome and agile. After the patrol, we were assigned to the management desk and the assigned area. Then I was assigned to the side of the viewing platform, next to the military band, facing Tiananmen Square. Our whole class was here, and squad leader Janway was very happy because the view here is the best. After the assignment, we were arranged to sit on the viewing platform and wait. I think we sat there for more than an hour. It was really boring because we couldn't do anything and had to sit there upright. I asked squad leader Janway what time it was because only tonight did the squad leader bring a walkie-talkie, but he said impatiently that he didn't know because there was no answer on the walkie. Because the mission required us to wear suits at the time, and we were not allowed to bring any paper in the mission area, let alone watches, cameras, and other items. I don't know how long we sat there before we suddenly received the assembly signal. It turned out that the captain had applied to the squadron to take a photo as a souvenir. I think the captain might have wanted to keep a record. After all, I hated taking photos at that time, so I wanted to leave a trace at this time, which is the photo below. The photo was taken very poorly. It is indeed the only record left at that time, so it is still precious. After taking the photo, we were all very happy. Then we waited in the subway passage. At this time, the subway had stopped running and there were not many people. I estimated that it was around 11 o'clock in the evening. Then we finally didn't have to sit there tense anymore. At this time, I heard the sound test on the Tiananmen Tower, and then I heard the words 1, 2, 3, 4, tower sound test, repeating over and over again for more than half an hour. The sound should be very loud and clear. I feel that the whole Forbidden City and even half of Beijing should be able to hear this sound. A propaganda department member who was following us at the time, the officer said this sound system was worth about 30 million yuan. Every sound we heard was a blast of money. The sound test and rehearsal were perfect. The sound engineer during the rehearsal read out President Xi's New Year's address, and we all heard it clearly. But unfortunately, during the official parade, the sound system had a problem, which was the biggest problem of the entire parade. I'll talk about this later. After the sound test, it was unusually quiet. Some comrades were dozing off, but they couldn't really fall asleep, so it was still very painful. I wasn't sleepy at all, but I was really bored. After all, there were still a few hours before the rehearsal. I took out the individual dry rations we were given and read the words on the package. This was the first time we were given individual dry rations, and I was very curious. It was one of those super hard compressed biscuits, but it was very nutritious with all the fats, vitamins, and other things. Of course, the calorie content was also very surprising. People said that one piece could... Then when I took out the dry food, squad leader Janwei saw me and scolded me again, saying that I could eat without being ordered. I said I hadn't eaten yet. Ha ha ha. Then when the noise spread, I found that comrades from other squads around me started to open the packages and eat. Then I looked at squad leader Janwei, and squad leader Janwei said that you are the instigator and you have led a group astray. I felt that I was more wronged than Dou-Yi at that time, but I didn't take it seriously. My mentality was more like that of a school outing. I think most of the comrades around me should be the same. Squad leader Janwei treated it more like a mission, repeatedly emphasizing that we were on a mission. But I didn't care. I just kept thinking that I was better than those comrades who dozed off, right? Well, how should I put it? It's because I didn't have enough discipline. I spent the whole night in board. Then when it was just dawn, we were notified to go. The management desk was seated and said that the audience would be entering soon. I actually predicted that there would be an audience. I knew that during the official military parade, the management desk would be filled with many heavyweights, but I didn't expect that there would be an audience. Because the procedures of the rehearsal and the official ceremony were almost the same, except that the rehearsal had to end as early as possible to avoid affecting traffic and the road had to be... I'll interject here and say that after we were done with the rehearsal at the viewing platform, those people started to enter. One after another. It seemed like they came together, but they were dressed very... It seemed that they were more like they were watching a concert than a military parade. I could tell that they must have been strictly selected, but I felt inexplicably unhappy at the time, because I kept thinking that such a grand event should not be allowed to these casual people. Of course, not all of them were. Moreover, it had been raining intermittently since late August, and it was also raining on the day of the rehearsal. Even after being wet by the rain, it was a little cold. But what I was thinking was why the rain couldn't make these people shut up, because they were really noisy. We received orders to maintain order, but fortunately, these people were quite obedient, so they quieted down after a little persuasion. There was an old man sitting next to me, and he asked me if I was a soldier. I said yes, but with a little pride. And then squad leader Janwei heard it. Haha. What should I say, squad leader Wei Jian, because squad leader Janwei was sitting in front of me, and after he heard it, he scolded me again. This was the second time I was scolded. He told me not to talk to people and said I was exposing my identity. Well, I still have to recognize it. Fortunately, the rain stopped the day before the official military parade. I thought it was artificial rainmaking, but it was really just God's will. It was wonderful, and the scene was much more solemn during the official military parade, because the people who came were leaders from various industries. I met several people who moved China, as well as Li Yubin and other artists who were sitting not far from me. And of course there were others. There were many people in military uniforms, and one of them was sitting behind me. His clothes were covered with medals. You could hear the medals colliding on their chests. How should I put it? It was a very pleasant but heavy sound. And if there was any dissatisfaction during the formal parade, it was with the reporters. Because I was sitting next to the military band and close to the aisle, there were always reporters coming to take pictures, and we had to stop them. As for foreigners, you just need to make a gesture and they will behave themselves. But the CCTV reporters were really annoying. When I tried to dissuade them from walking around, some would take out their reporter IDs and ask, "I'm from CCTV," as if their work ID gave them the freedom to do whatever they wanted. Then I raised my voice to dissuade them, but they rolled their eyes at me. I really wanted to slap them, but I didn't. Haha. There were also Japanese reporters at the scene. I was surprised to hear people speaking Japanese. Don't they know? The theme of this military parade is very strange, and I still don't understand why there was such a big sound problem. During the rehearsal, the leaders were played by staff members, and the sound quality of the sound equipment was extremely perfect, with no noise at all. You can hear the real sound of R&B flowing. But when we got to the real scene, until the parade began, all the sounds were intermittent, sometimes high and sometimes low. I almost didn't hear the General Secretary's speech clearly. People around me were talking about things like the person in charge was going to be laid off, etc. But when the General Secretary announced a 300,000-strong troop reduction, we all heard it, and everyone around us was very surprised. This troop reduction was later called military reform, and the sound problem also directly caused the standard bearer to not hear the command to take your position clearly, and there was a slight mistake. They won the applause again with that perfect goose step, which was really wonderful. But I was so nervous the whole time that I squeezed my toes. I don't know if the foreign dignitaries around the chairman could hear that there was a problem with the square sound system. I think this really damaged our image because the sound was intermittent and we didn't know when to applaud. We could only look at the opposite area to see if anyone was clapping. We thought that the viewing platforms on both sides of the Tiananmen Tower might hear some sounds and see someone clapping on the opposite side, and we would clap along. So our clapping was never in sync, which was very embarrassing. I even worried about whether there would be a broadcasting accident and whether the sound engineers would feel very guilty about this. I really felt bad for others. Fortunately, the problem was finally solved shortly after the parade began, so the gap ended here. But I think there is really a regret in it. Fortunately, there were no accidents in the most important parade. After watching the rehearsal and the formal parade twice, I think the handsome guys I like can form a reinforced company. Of course, this is not the point. The first thing that gives people a visual impact is the National Flag Squad. The formation of the National Flag Squad is really impeccable. It is not enough to describe it as neat and tidy. They are all 1.8 meters tall and their facial features are extremely regular. We even went to visit the National Flag Squad later. I will reveal the secret to you later. I can't give them more space now because there are already a lot. The marching in the parade is really exciting. First of all, as for the veterans of the War of Resistance against Japanese aggression, some of them are already very old, and some of them can't even salute, but they are still trying hard to do the salute. It is very sad for people to see. I have thought that perhaps holding such a grand military parade at a time like this is perhaps a grand farewell to these heroes. Telling them that New China will not forget them because in the next decade, that is, by now, I don't know, many of them may not be around anymore. It is difficult for me to describe the subsequent parade. I was shocked to the point of numbness, and at the same time I felt a little ashamed. I felt so close to my comrades in the formation, yet so far away. And I didn't know if anyone could understand, but the shock was genuine. Every time a phalanx passed by, I could hear the people around me exclaiming in amazement at the beauty of man-made geometry, the resonant sound of their footsteps with zero delay, and the seat vibrating. It also made me numb from my heels all the way to my crown time and time again. Whether it was a preview or the official ceremony, I could never get enough of this kind of split-up style. Of course, apart from the foreign phalanxes, this was probably the first time we'd invited a foreign phalanx to participate. I can only say there's no harm without comparison. When the foreign phalanxes appeared, I could even hear a few scattered laughs. Although I didn't think it was nice, I actually started yawning a lot. Because we also spent the night before the official ceremony. I didn't sleep at all, and because there were no mistakes during the rehearsal. I was a little nervous during the formal ceremony. Then, squad leader Janwei caught me yawning, and that was the third time I got scolded during this mission. Haha, he asked me to be alert. How should I put it? Let me look at the comrades who were still fighting in the audience. I could see the demoning engineers from other units still walking back and forth below, and the military dogs didn't stop for a moment. The shame made me cheer up again. How should I put it? Indeed, the sound of squad leader Janwei scolding me was heard by an uncle in front of me. He turned around and asked me which squadron or team I was from. I shook my head to indicate that I couldn't say anything. The uncle actually started talking to himself. Someone said you should be from the 1st or 7th detachment of the Northern Headquarters. I still didn't reply, but I was thinking, I'm from the General Staff, who would want to be in the Northern Headquarters? As a result, not long after I retired from the Army, because of the military reform, our detachment's number was cancelled. and it was transferred to the northern headquarters. When we heard the news, we felt very upset, as if we had been demoted. Humph. And this uncle didn't stop for a moment. He kept explaining to me during the weapons and equipment display. It was great. During the rehearsal, because of the rain, all the weapons and equipment were covered with tarpaulins. But today, I can see them all. I can't see their faces when I see them. Maybe it's because I'm not a military fan. Even though these weapons and equipment it was cool, but I think I was far less shocked than the marching column. Only when I saw the Dongfeng series did my eyes light up, because although I am not a military fan, I still like those powerful and destructive things. The Dongfeng series that can carry nuclear warheads is really hard to watch for me. The roar of the fighter jets made my whole body numb. Haha, how should I put it? I felt numb all over throughout the whole show. The last part was the part of releasing peace doves. There was no such part in the rehearsal because the number was too large. In addition, there was also the part of releasing balloons. The whole sky was densely packed with flying objects, and then the feathers kept floating down from the sky. The people were picking up the feathers, probably to keep as a souvenir. Actually, I wanted to pick one up too. The world is really not peaceful nowadays, so I still hope for world peace. Then, I felt lost for a while when the military parade ended. In a sense, it was a withdrawal reaction. After the parade, each of us received a box lunch. We were really hungry, but we were called back before we had even taken 2 bites. Because some of the food was found to be spoiled. It wasn't hot that day, and I wanted to say that the one in my hand was not spoiled, but I had no choice but to watch it being taken away. After returning to the camp, the kitchen team had already cooked noodles for us and brought them to each class in a basin. I felt that it was not as good as those the lunchboxes were not hygienic, but we still enjoyed eating them happily. After we shared the food in class, we went to sleep. The next 3 days were all free activities, which was very enjoyable. Of course, there will be more fun to come because the number of people traveling in Beijing during the National Day has increased sharply due to the military parade. Then we were assigned to stand guard at Tiananmen Square in Beijing for 7 consecutive days. After the end of this mission, the story will mainly focus on the relationships between. Of course, there will also be a close-up of the Devil's Weekly. If you are interested, please leave a follow. I plan to edit a Chunxiang version of the parade on P2. If you are interested, you can also take a look. It is really not easy to make a long video. First of all, please give more comments. This episode ends here. See you next time. Bye.